Hi everyone, and welcome to the third episode of TAMCAST, the podcast about healthcare in Canada. With me, Jess, and our guest, Christine. Christine, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, for sure, Sid. Thank you. So my name is Christine Brunsden. I'm the CEO of Benefits2. Benefits2 was developed as a response to my own personal situation, which was difficulty getting my daughter's disability tax credit certificate. So having known about this credit for a long time, I couldn't understand why it was so difficult for me to obtain the credit. I knew about it, I knew it qualified, but yet I still had a really hard time getting doctors and professionals to understand that she qualified, and she couldn't really articulate what her qualification criteria were because of her nature of her impairment. And so, I had her assessed at 6, I had her assessed again at 12, I had her assessed again at 18, and I still ran into this problem. So I took it upon myself to gather a whole group of professionals together across Canada. And two of those individuals, one was a tax credit promoter, and I'll describe that term in a second. The other was a medical doctor. And I put on a whole legacy planning summit at the end of 2020, and the last day of that summit was all around legacy planning for people with disabilities. And I realized I wasn't the only one struggling with this problem. And so I pulled the doctor aside and I pulled the tax credit promoter guy aside, and I said, could you guys help me with this application? And they said, oh, of course we could help you. And so I'm like, okay, great. So here's the assessments that she's had all along the way. And but it was so simple, honestly. Peter reviewed those things, put it all into a context that was easy for the doctor to sign off on. The doctor met with me, met with my daughter, signed off on it. It all got submitted to CRA, and within 3 weeks we had our approval. And then they adjusted my tax returns, and several weeks later I had a fairly sizable refund. Which wasn't comfortable to me, though, was this tax credit promoter, as we call them, which are companies in Canada that know how to acquire the disability tax credit, and they charge on a success rate basis, not on an hourly rate basis, not on a flat fee basis, but on the success of your refund. So they would take 20, 25, 30 to 40% of your refund, and I had to give up 20% of my refund, which to me felt a little bit icky. And I thought there's got to be a better way. And so I went to the doctor and I said, there's got to be some way of innovating this, making it more practical, a solution that, everybody can access and get more awareness out there amongst people that qualify for this so they can actually be helped without having to go to a promoter and having this huge amount of the refund taken. And he said, yeah, I often thought it could be something of an app, if you will. And I thought, well, I know some developers. Let's go down that path. And so that's what we did. We started off in the beginning of 2021, somewhere around the spring area, talking about this. We had the wrong developers at first. We had hired a front-end development team out of Egypt. The whole thing was not going well. I got introduced to some other people, and we changed courses, got a different developer in, and, here we are. We've just launched the app March of this year, and it's going really quite well. We've had well over 200 people go through the process. Wow. We haven't heard of anybody being denied as of yet. Wow. And it's life-changing for people because you're accessing refunds. You're applying those refunds to, more assessments or therapies or whatever that might look like for your family. And it's not just that the individual who has the disability that gets the tax credit. That's not the only benefit. The benefits are so numerous, but that tax credit can be transferred to a supporting family member, which is what I was. And then we were able to, go back on my taxes, and that's where we ended up this larger refund. And now, it's not just my daughter. I support 5 disabled family members, and I have my own hidden disability. So
that's wonderful. Actually, it started as a personal issue that you faced, and then you made it like a business opportunity, or not a business opportunity. I would say a way to create something, some initiatives to help others, and that's very interesting. How do you deal with someone coming to you and looking for your services? What is the client journey that you have?
So generally, people come because they're so frustrated that they can't get a doctor to sign off. And it's one of the inherent problems with this disability tax credit is that doctors never learned about the criteria for this credit when they went through school. I've confirmed with many of them, they never learned anything about the disability tax credit. Taxes and medicine, they don't teach that in med school. So that's one of the big problems, is they just don't understand it. And the criteria have changed over time. And there's nobody from CRA coming to a doctor's office to say, hey, we changed the criteria. You need to know that it now is this. So that's not happening. And the problem that occurs is that doctors are already very busy in their practice. Their practice is already about 35 to 40% paperwork related. Yeah. And now we're asking them to fill out a tax form in a way that CRA wants to receive it and approve it, and they have no idea how to write those things. And if they were going to try and attempt to do that in a patient visit, they likely wouldn't get through that application. So they can't do them during patient visits. That forces them to have to do them after hours. You can imagine what it would be like if you're a physician working many, many hours a week to then have to take additional hours out of your work week to do paperwork like this. And then now you kind of understand the reason why a lot of doctors tend to want to not get into the paperwork aspect of this, is that it does take a long time. The average application would take a doctor anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes to complete from start to finish.
Jess, you have a lot of experience with different patients who could benefit from those services, right?
Yeah, definitely. We were just talking about this at lunch, and I was surprised to know, and I've been in the insurance industry for many years, that there's people that will qualify that maybe have ADHD or that have cognitive impairment. And I always thought that was so difficult to qualify for the disability tax credit. But based on the application that I saw, it's pretty enlightening to see that a lot of our clients would qualify, if not all of them.
And do you have to design your services based on the disability of your clients, or is it always the same thing, meaning that...
Let me give you a brief synopsis of what it is to go through a Benefits2 application. The Benefits2 application, if you go to the site, benefits2.ca, you'll see up in the right-hand corner a Begin Assessment for Free button. And it's going to walk you through a set of 9 questions. Those 9 questions, answer them honestly. And if the answer to any one of those questions is yes, then you are likely to qualify. Okay. At that point, you sign up to use the application, pay your fee to go through, and then you'll answer a set of questions, and it's anywhere between, most of the impairments would be around 10 questions, but mental functions, because it's a larger area, has a larger number of questions. So what we do is we walk our applicants through a simplified application where they're asked questions that they can easily answer. We've created complex algorithmic tables of information. Once the application process is complete, we download from CRA the T2201 application and fill it out with the tables of information based on their answers. So we fill it out successfully in a way that we know CRA wants to receive the information and see it in order to successfully adjudicate it.
CRA stands for?
The Canada Revenue Agency. So Canada Revenue Agency is the arm of the government that actually is responsible for managing the disability tax credit process, right? So they're the ones that are the people that approve or disapprove or deny applications that come in. So
you can make this all very complicated process easier for the people to actually be able to submit it successfully and to get the credit tax refund. And is it this is a flat fee, I understand, right? It's not
Correct.
Based on this.
So if you go back to what the government tried to do back in 2021, they actually were successful at bringing legislation in called the Disability Tax Credit Promoters Restrictions Act. They were trying to fix the fee at $100 for any assistance with the tax credit and no more than $100 a year for helping with the tax adjustments. They were unsuccessful. They had one of the promoter companies, and I don't want to paint every promoter company with the same brush. They're not all the same. But this one particular promoter company took the government to court, and they sought an interlocutory injunction against them to say, no, you can't fix our fee. You're federal government. We're regulated provincially. You can't do that. And they won on that basis. And so the whole thing is tied up in court. And we just said, you know what? It's based on my experience and based on the clientele that we serve. I think it's reasonable and it's the right thing to do to offer this at a flat fee, right? Recognizing that there are some people who are going to need some assistance in walking through the process. And for that very reason, we're now getting ready to launch a walkthrough application, which is why I'm here talking with Jess, is that some people just can't walk through this on their own. They don't have the technology. They can't concentrate long enough to get through it, whatever that looks like. We don't want anybody not having the ability to go through. So we're launching that walkthrough process at $149. But we need a number of people who are trained in this that can actually walk people through the application and hold their hand so that they can get to the end and produce an application they can take to their doctor or to, that's the special sauce about Benefits2 is that we have medical practitioners that we can connect you with who can then authenticate and sign off on your application.
That's very good. And how is your relationship with the medical providers that are, they have to deal with those disabled people?
What I would say to you, and this is what I'm hearing on the 1-800 line that we have, a lot of patients that are calling from Nova Scotia, I guess they're going to their doctor's office and asking the doctor if they'll fill out the disability tax credit. And the doctor is saying, well, just go see Benefits2.
I see.
Right? So we've got a large amount of penetration in Nova Scotia. I'm seeing it trickle into New Brunswick as well. But with Ontario being such a large province, I would expect that there's a number of physicians that have no clue that we exist even today. And it's like anything else. It takes a lot of marketing dollars to get the word out to everyone. And we're still, a startup. We're still new. So, getting the word out there is what we're trying to do. And what I'm saying is, rather than go direct to the physicians, what I'm saying is, I think every company, if you value inclusion in your company, you should have every employee go through that questionnaire at onboarding to understand whether they, their spouse, their children, their aging parents they're looking after qualify for this credit, and to actually prioritize their financial well-being, the financial stability of their family, and not just at onboarding, but annually as part of their benefits enrollment process to go through that process again. Because when somebody's acquired a disability in any given tax year, they're not thinking about, does this qualify me for tax benefits? No, it's like we're dealing with the emergency of this particular diagnosis. We're not thinking about how does this, impact us from a tax perspective. So I'm working with companies to say, hey, use this at onboarding and annually. And I'm also talking to practitioners who are both wealth advisors or accountants or lawyers to say, it would be helpful for you to take your clients through this process as well. If you're going to be diligent about your financial planning or your tax advising or your legal services, it would be beneficial for you to actually say to a client, here, just go and fill this questionnaire out. And, if you qualify, let us know. We want to help you through the process. We want to make sure that you're connecting to all the benefits and credits that you might be eligible for.
Absolutely. In our last episode, Jess, you were mentioning some of the patients have financial issue to cover for their home care services. Mm-hmm. Do you find these services to be important for them? And do you have example of cases where people couldn't pay for the home care services and they could benefit from Benefits2?
Absolutely. Prior to learning about Benefits2, we did on our website for TAMCARE offer information about rebates from the government that you could get back. Very small amount of information, but I knew that our clients are private paying and we're supplying them with an invoice. Therefore, there's 10, 20, 30 ways that they could receive money back. We tried to help them navigate that, but as I know, every single one of our clients would be able to receive something back based on what I learned today.
Okay, so which is important to in order to cover the services and get better, hopefully. Are you working with the long-term care services?
Not long-term care, but I would say yes, with retirement residences and assisted living. It's almost too late to deal with the resident of long-term care, generally, unless it's a physical issue. They don't have the capacity to apply for this themselves.
Long-term care is subsidized already, so they're not paying out of pocket generally.
It still would be beneficial, especially if you're transferring that to a family member who's helping to support you, especially in a low income situation, right? But for as far as us helping people through this application or providing the self-serve, the people that are going to do that are not people who don't have capacity. they're going to be the family member might reach out to us in that case, but the individual that's going to reach out to us is probably in a retirement residence or in an assisted living. And I would say that even a lot of them, in my talks with a lot of retirement residences, they say a lot of our clients have no clue. It's an educational and awareness problem as well, is that a lot of people just have no clue this program exists and what it opens the door to. It's like Pandora's box. You get the disability tax credit and it all of a sudden opens up a world of benefits to you that you had no idea existed.
So the first step is to go to your website, benefits2.com.
Benefits2.ca.
.ca, sorry. And you have to go and start the free questionnaire, right?
Yep. 9 questions, fill out the free assessment. It will tell you at the end whether or not you're likely or not to qualify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Benefits2.ca. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jess.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty excited to check it out more.
Yeah, I'm really excited about partnering with Jess and her staff, and we're very open to feedback, and so we're going to be launching some office hours at Benefits2 as well for helping with practitioners and the public, where they can come in and ask their questions, because a lot of people are a little bit fearful of starting a process when they don't understand the basic content of this. So we want to be able to get as much awareness out there as possible. And we find that maybe the Benefits2 office hours might be the way of kind of opening the door for them to come in and ask those questions. We also have a Facebook group. We get a lot of questions asked inside the Facebook group too.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'll see you very soon. Bye.
No, thank you for having me.